The movie starts on an eerie night when two policemen get an emergency call from a Chinese millionaire named Wang. They knock on the door and are received by the maid, who has no idea about the call. Three of them go to check on the millionaire and find a strange symbol marked on his door. Inside, Wang is lying dead beside his second wife, Li, who is holding a demonic weapon. Wang's face is smooshed into nothing with the said weapon, and the floor is covered in his blood. A policeman tries to touch Li and finds out she is still alive. The scene cuts to the next day. Policeman Chow and his pregnant wife Mina are at the hospital getting Mina checked. The doctor confirms that the child is healthy and congratulates the couple. Right after, they go to a second doctor who consults them about Chow's cancer treatment. It turns out that he has been fighting cancer for the past 2 years, but none of the treatments are working long term. If this continues, Chow will reach the last stage of cancer in a few months. The couple returns home in misery, and Chow decides that he is going back to work for the last months of his life. Mina, who is also a police officer, doesn't support the decision, but Chow has made his choice. He is one of the best detectives in the police force. Hence, even in his condition, he is made the head detective of the Wang murder case. The news becomes huge in all of China because of the ruthless way the millionaire was killed. At the start of the investigation, Wang's wife Li is interrogated. Since she was found at the crime scene with the weapon, she is the main suspect at the moment. As she tells the story from her perspective, we are taken to a flashback. On the night of the murder, Li heard a noise coming from her husband's room. She would have ignored it normally, but this time, she saw the strange symbol on the door and decided to check on him. Inside, Wang's son, Zhang, was performing some kind of demonic ritual on him. Li tried to stop Zhang, but he only got more aggressive. Eventually, he brought out a weapon and started banging his father's head with it. Wang was suffering from cancer at the time and was too weak to fight back. In the end, he was hit several times on his face and died a horrible death. Li reveals that Wang's first wife committed suicide a year ago. Zhang always blamed his father for his mother's death, which is why he killed him. The maid also confirmed seeing Zhang run out of the house before the policemen arrived. All evidence shows that Zhang is the killer, but as Li signs a form confirming her testament, Chow notices that she is left-handed. The forensic reports show that the killer is also left-handed, which piques Chow's suspicion. Even though they go out on a search for Zhang, he decides to keep a close eye on Li. Upon further investigation, the police found out about a renowned doctor named Zhu. He was Wang's business partner and closest friend, so much so that he was the second person in Wang's will after Li. Zhu has been in Wang's life since they were teenagers. Hence, he knows how his first wife Tian died. He reveals that Tian and Wang had a broken marriage and were only together to maintain Wang's reputation as a family man. Otherwise, Wang never even touched Tian after she had a baby. The poor woman was so alone that she fell into a spiral of depression and started hating her son because he looked like his father. Zhang had a harsh childhood because of the same reason. The next day, Mina goes through Tian's belongings to look for a clue about her death. She finds out that Tian jumped off the balcony after cursing her husband to suffer for the rest of his life. She had a bunch of papers in her hands when she jumped, but they got lost in the wind. Moreover, it is revealed that Tian was into black magic and had carved a symbol onto her chest one time. The police assume that Zhang followed in his mother's footsteps and killed his father to fulfill the curse. Apart from everything, what shocks the people the most is that Li's room had a surveillance camera. She had only been married to Wang for a year, but for that entire time, someone was keeping an eye on her through the camera. The interesting part is that Li also knew about the camera and would only get dressed in the bathroom. The camera also shows Li violently shaking at night, seemingly being possessed by Tian. She is brought in one more time for interrogation. When asked about the nightly episodes, she claims that she doesn't remember anything. After looking at almost all videos of her throughout the last year, Chow comes to the conclusion that Li changed a lot. When she first moved in, she was right-handed, and she always used to change in the shower, having known about the camera. However, recently, she started writing with her left hand and would come out of the shower naked and stare at herself in the mirror. This again fits the theory that she was possessed, but Chow wants to get a logical explanation out of the situation. Somewhere else, Dr. Zhu is at a conference talking about his groundbreaking RNA memory transplant discovery. According to his study, one can transfer their consciousness into another person using this technique, but it is highly unethical. Zhu has also invented RNA therapy, an experimental treatment that is supposed to help people with cancer. Next, the police find a lead after looking at the ritual books Tian used to learn black magic. The book mentions a plant that is found in the mountains and needs proper care throughout the year. Zhang used the same plant before murdering his father, which means he could be in the mountains taking care of the plants right now. With this information on hand, the police look for and search all the areas where the plant is found. Eventually, they find Zhang and arrest him. Chao feels bad for the murderer because he is only 18 years old. Zhang is asked if he killed his father, but he doesn't say anything and keeps repeating demonic verses. A flashback shows us that his mother asked him to take care of the plants in the mountains before her death, which is why he was living there. At the same time, Mina finds the recording on Wang's phone taken right before his death. The recording was Wang screaming on it, but nothing significant. The next day, Li and Zhang are interrogated together to see if their stories match. Zhang speaks for the first time and discloses that Li gave her the letter that his mother wrote for him before her death. Chao is shocked because Li never mentioned any letter prior to this. Just as the case seems to be taking a different direction, Li starts talking like Tian and tells Zhang he fulfilled his mother's wish. Zhang assumes he is talking to his mother and confesses that he killed Wang. With all the evidence pointing towards him and his confession, the case is solved, but Chao's heart tells him that they are missing something. Unexplained things like Tian's letter to Zhang make him believe Zhang is being framed. That night, Mina is driving Chao home when suddenly he gets a seizure. He wakes up 2 days later from a coma. Cancer has spread to his brain and he doesn't have long to live. The only treatment that could save his life is Zhu's RNA treatment. Zhu, being a nice person, offers him to be his first test subject. However, the next month is awful for Chao. He doesn't have control over his limbs and excretory system and has to depend on Mina for everything. He feels like a burden and wishes to die at this point. Meanwhile, Li becomes the new CEO of Wang's company, and Zhu continues his cancer research. With Zhang in jail, they continue their life as usual, trying to forget the traumas of the past. Then one day, Chao is bored in his hospital bed and randomly decides to go through the recorded files of the case. He finds the phone recording from Wang's phone right before his death. In the recording, Li asks Wang to hand over the position of the CEO and hits him with something. Chao is shocked because the recording he was shown prior was just the first part. He asks his wife why she hid the full thing and calls her out for making an innocent man go to prison. Mina, shamefully, reveals that she helped Li and Zhu so they would provide him with the RNA treatment for free. She wanted Chao to live so badly that she didn't care about anything else. The next day, Chao goes to meet Li and confronts her about her crimes, but without solid proof, she is set free yet again. In the evening, Zhu comes to meet Chao in a frenzy. He feels guilty for everything he has done and wants to confess. Initially, Chao is skeptical about talking to him, but he eventually allows him a chance. Zhu starts talking about the time Wang and he first started their company and the research center. They had known each other for years and quickly formed a romantic relationship. Wang always felt like he had the soul of a woman and often dressed as one. However, society back then didn't see their relationship as respectable. Hence, the two decided to keep their relationship a secret. To hide the fact he is transgender, Wang married Tian and had a child with her. But after his status was saved, he ignored her completely. Over the course of years, she thought he had affairs with other women, but when she found out he was cheating on her with his business partner, she lost her mind. Her mental disorder got the best of her, and she jumped off the balcony with the pictures of Zhu and Wang in her hands. Even then, Zhu felt guilty and blamed himself for her death. Before death, Tian had wished hell upon Wang, and it came true when he was diagnosed with cancer a few months later. Zhu wanted to save his lover at all costs, which is why he researched more into the RNA treatment, but even the most advanced treatment could only lengthen Wang's life for a few months. In the end, they decided to try something extreme that no scientists in the world had tried yet. Wang married his second wife Li, and Zhu performed an RNA memory transplant on them. Over the course of a year, Li lived with Wang. She was injected with contents from his RNA which slowly transferred his memories and thoughts into her. In simpler words, they liked to refer to it as a transfer of souls. This is why Lee used to get seizures in the middle of the night, which looked like she was being possessed. This is also the reason she magically became left-handed. Zhu and Wang's plan was to let Wang live as Lee and take over his own company as a woman. However, when Wang's consciousness was divided into his old body and the body of Lee, something strange started happening. The old Wang didn't want to die anymore and wanted to revert the plan. When Lee found out about this, she influenced Zhang to kill his father using his mother's letter. On the night of the murder, Zhang came in and hit his father on the head only once before running away. Lee came in afterwards to finish the task. She was the one who smashed his head and killed him. After listening to the entire story, Chao asks Zhu if Lee and Wang are still the same people. Zhu affirms but claims that the Wang he loved is dead, and the person he created is a monster. He wants to help the police and is guilty of everything he has done. The next day, they go to Lee's office and knock her out. When Mina returns home, she sees that her husband is gone. She finds a note he wrote to their unborn child telling him how much he loves him. Mina understands that this means he is not coming back. The scene shifts to a few weeks later. Lee is in court confessing to all her crimes. She doesn't tell the court that she is actually Wang, but tells everyone how she killed her husband. The news creates a sensation nationwide, and Wang's company is handed down to a board of directors. Lee is caught and sentenced to 40 years in prison. In the last scene, we see her in prison being called outside to meet someone. Mina has come to visit her with her child, who is now a few months old. They talk about the child for a while before Lee does something that shocks everyone. She pretends to touch Mina's forehead, exactly like how Chao used to before his disappearance. This means that after kidnapping Lee, Zhu performed the RNA transplant on Chao and Lee. Ever since, Chao has been living in Lee's body and will eventually be back to his family.